Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a closed door. You know that behind it lies the unknown, something that sparks both curiosity and fear. The desire to uncover what's there pulls you in, but a voice in your head warns, do you really want to open it? This is the starting point of our journey, a descent into the iceberg of the internet's most terrifying and disturbing content. At first, the path seems harmless, even mundane. Curious tales, eccentric characters, and seemingly solved mysteries greet you. But don't be fooled. Each level of this iceberg holds darker secrets than the one before. Here, the lines between reality and fiction blur, and what once seemed like simple stories online morphs into something far more sinister. We begin with what floats on the surface, the upper layers of this dark iceberg. You'll hear about cases that, while unsettling, still feel relatively safe. Take the story of Bill Me, a YouTuber who documented his battle with a terminal illness in a deeply spiritual tone, leaving his followers with a mix of hope and emptiness after his sudden disappearance. Or the chilling tale of the Goodwill mystery photo, a vintage image that might hold clues to an unsolved crime or could simply be a haunting relic of a forgotten past. This first level offers a glimpse into the strange, a taste that's just enough to make you want more. But beware, every step deeper grows darker, and what you uncover won't be easy to forget. If you choose to continue, be prepared. Will you dare to descend further? Picture yourself waking up to the sound of your phone blaring. It's an emergency alert, the kind you hope never to see. Ballistic missile threat inbound. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Your heart races, your mind spins. What do you do? Where do you go? For the people of Hawaii, this nightmare became their reality on January 13, 2018. The panic spread like wildfire. People ran barefoot down the streets, scrambling for shelter. Parents desperately stuffed their children into storm drains, begging them to stay quiet. Others sent tearful goodbyes to loved ones, convinced these were their final moments. Imagine the crushing fear of thinking you had less than 15 minutes before a missile would obliterate everything you know. And then came silence, agonizing silence. For 38 minutes, there was no clarification, no correction, no relief. The alert hung over Hawaii like a death sentence. When the second message finally arrived, declaring it a false alarm, the damage was already done. Families had already said their goodbyes. People had already made peace, or not, with their impending fate. The truth behind this chaos? A miscommunication during a routine drill. A single employee mistakenly triggered the alert, believing it was real. That simple error exposed glaring vulnerabilities in the emergency alert system, forcing a nationwide reckoning on preparedness and accountability. But for those who lived through it, the scars remain. The memory of staring at their phones, believing the end was near, will never fade. It's a stark reminder of how fragile our sense of security can be and how quickly it can be shattered. Would you have been ready if it had been real? Imagine the excitement of finding a mysterious photo tucked away in a forgotten album at a thrift store. The faded colors, the vintage aesthetic, and the hint of a story waiting to be uncovered. But what if that photo wasn't just a relic of the past? What if it held a dark and disturbing secret? This is the chilling enigma of the Goodwill mystery photo. The photograph, allegedly found in an old album purchased at a Goodwill store in Washington, sent shivers through those who saw it online. At first glance, it seems innocent, almost ordinary. But a closer look reveals a swampy landscape. A man in a red or orange shirt standing in shallow water with his hands duct-taped behind his back. The scene grows darker when your eyes drift to the left of the frame. There lies another figure, face down, bound hand and foot, seemingly lifeless, floating in the murky water. As if this wasn't disturbing enough, shadows loom in the corner of the photo, one resembling a person holding a shotgun and another suggesting the open door of a vehicle. The internet erupted with theories. Some argued it was a still from a low-budget horror film, citing its grainy quality and the square format typical of 1970s Kodak cameras. Others pointed to its eerie resemblance to scenes from old TV dramas. But the most sinister theory claimed it was evidence of a real crime, a photograph capturing a horrifying moment in time. One article suggested that the man in the photo was Teddy Franks, a young American who vanished in 1986 after storming out of his home in a fit of rage. According to this report, the haunting image was sent to Frank's sisters, who allegedly identified him as the figure bound in the swamp. However, the story remained shrouded in doubt, with no concrete evidence to confirm this claim or the photo's origins. Even decades later, the Goodwill mystery photo continues to unsettle and intrigue. Its faded edges hold unanswered questions that ignite the imagination and terrify the soul. What really happened that day, and how did this haunting image end up in a thrift store album? Perhaps we'll never know, leaving us to wonder how many other dark secrets are hiding in plain sight. Imagine waking up to an alert on your phone. Your heart pounds as you read. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Your mind races. Is this how it ends? The Hawaii missile scare of 2018 was one of the most terrifying false alarms in modern history, and its chaos left a deep scar on everyone who lived through it. On January 13, 2018, at 8:07 a.m., Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency accidentally triggered a missile alert. It wasn't just a text message, it was broadcast across TV stations, radios, and smartphones. The message was clear and absolute: seek shelter immediately. This was no drill. Panic swept through Hawaii like wildfire. Families scrambled to find safety, rushing into basements, bathtubs, and storm drains. Some residents fled to higher ground, while others made desperate calls to loved ones, unsure if they would ever speak again. Tourists ran barefoot through hotel lobbies, while parents hugged their children tightly, whispering words of love in what they believed might be their final moments. But as chaos reigned, an unsettling silence came from officials. For a grueling 38 minutes, no correction or clarification was issued. Imagine the despair of thinking the world might end, with no one telling you otherwise. Finally, at 8:45 a.m., a second alert was sent out, declaring the initial warning a false alarm. Relief flooded the state, but the damage was done. The psychological toll of that morning was immense. Families recounted how they had said their goodbyes, some recording final messages, while others made frantic plans they never thought they'd need. An investigation revealed the scare stemmed from human error during a routine drill. An employee misunderstood a verbal instruction and sent out the real alert instead of marking it as a test. The system's lack of safeguards to prevent such a mistake was glaring. The individual responsible was ultimately dismissed, but the incident exposed major flaws in emergency preparedness. The Hawaii missile scare wasn't just a technical failure, it was a chilling reminder of how fragile our sense of safety can be. For 38 minutes, an entire state faced what felt like the end of the world. It's a story that lingers, a haunting lesson about the importance of vigilance, and the cost of error in a world where seconds can mean everything. Imagine waking up next to the person you love, unaware that the day ahead will change your life forever. For YouTuber Timothy Birmingham, what started as a seemingly ordinary morning turned into one of the most haunting and heartbreaking events documented on his channel. Timothy Birmingham was known for his wholesome food reviews and laid-back vlogs. He was a man who exuded simplicity and joy, sharing moments of his life with a small but dedicated audience. His videos showcased a deep appreciation for the little things, his love of food, his calm demeanor, and his relationship with his wife, Penny. In January 2017, Timothy uploaded what appeared to be a routine vlog. The video started with him casually filming Penny still asleep in bed. He remarked on how unusual it was for her to be sleeping so late. By noon, she was typically up, bustling around the house. His tone was light, playful, even affectionate, as he filmed her peaceful figure under the covers. What Timothy didn't realize at the time was that Penny wasn't sleeping. She had passed away during the night. As the video continued, Timothy went about his day, entirely unaware of the heartbreaking reality unfolding in his home. The camera captured his normal routine, preparing meals, sharing stories with his audience, all while Penny lay motionless in the background. It wasn't until much later that Timothy discovered the truth. His heartbreak and confusion were palpable when he eventually addressed his audience, confirming what had happened. Penny, his life partner and best friend, was gone. The realization added a chilling and tragic layer to what his viewers had initially thought was just another light-hearted vlog. Timothy's channel shifted after Penny's passing. He continued to upload videos, some of which included heartfelt tributes to her. He spoke openly about his grief, sharing the struggles of navigating life without her. The pain of her absence was evident, but so was his determination to honor her memory in the way he knew best, through his videos and his love for the simple joys of life. This story isn't just about loss, it's a poignant reminder of how fleeting life can be. In one moment, everything feels normal, and in the next, your world can shatter. Timothy's journey resonates deeply with anyone who has faced unexpected grief, showing the strength it takes to move forward when the unimaginable happens. Imagine a YouTuber, once unknown outside his native Germany, thrust into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. His name was Dragon Lord, and his story is a cautionary tale of how fame, even unwanted, can spiral into a nightmare. Dragon Lord started his YouTube career innocently enough. His early videos focused on his love for metal music, featuring intense headbanging and passionate commentary. While his content resonated with a niche audience, it wasn't long before his outspoken personality began to attract not just fans, but also critics. Unfortunately, Dragon Lord's responses to criticism often added fuel to the fire, painting a target on his back for internet trolls. What began as online trolling quickly escalated into relentless harassment. Dragon Lord's home, dubbed the Dragon Bunker by his tormentors, became the epicenter of a cruel game. Trolls vandalized his property, throwing garbage, smashing windows, and even attempting to break in. The harassment wasn't confined to his physical space. Online forums were dedicated to mocking and doxing him, exposing his personal information for further abuse. Despite the overwhelming negativity, Dragon Lord refused to back down. In fact, he often provoked his harassers, challenging them to confront him in person. These challenges only worsened his situation, as the trolls saw it as an open invitation to escalate their attacks. What might have been a cry for help was instead perceived as defiance, and the cycle of provocation and harassment became unrelenting. The constant abuse took a visible toll on Dragon Lord's mental health. His content became increasingly erratic, reflecting the psychological strain he endured. He was seen carrying weapons for self-defense and lashing out in public, actions that only fueled the troll's narrative and worsened his public image. His home became a battleground, and he was no longer just a content creator. He was a man fighting for peace in a world that refused to leave him alone. The situation reached its breaking point when Dragon Lord was arrested multiple times for his confrontations with trolls. He ultimately lost his home, his platform, and a significant portion of his life to the chaos. Though he attempted to rebuild his life away from the public eye, his story remains a haunting example of how online harassment can devastate someone's existence. Dragon Lord's tale raises critical questions about the ethics of internet culture. At what point does criticism cross the line into abuse? How much responsibility do individuals bear for their actions, and how much lies with the collective mob? His story serves as a grim reminder that behind every screen is a human being, and the consequences of online cruelty can be far more devastating than we imagine. Picture this: a date that leads to an obsessive spiral so chilling, it defies belief. Jacqueline Aids, a woman from Paradise Valley, Arizona, transformed a single encounter into a descent into madness that became a national sensation and a cautionary tale. It all began on a luxury dating app, Luxy, designed to connect wealthy individuals. Aids met a man whose identity remains anonymous for privacy reasons. After exchanging a few messages, the pair went on a single date. For Aids, that meeting was destiny. For him, it was anything but. After the date, he politely asked her not to contact him again, assuming their interaction had ended. However, Aids interpreted this rejection in the most disturbing way imaginable. Over the next few months, Aids bombarded the man with over 65,000 text messages. At first, the messages were declarations of love, but they quickly devolved into dark and violent threats. Among her unsettling texts, she wrote about bathing in his blood, wearing his bones, and creating sushi with his kidneys. The messages painted a portrait of someone detached from reality, consumed by her obsession. Her behavior escalated from digital harassment to physical intrusion. Aides broke into the man's home, using his bathtub as if she belonged there, filling it with rose petals and behaving as though they were a couple. When the man discovered her, he immediately called the police. Despite being arrested and warned multiple times, Aides continued her campaign of harassment, convinced that they were soulmates destined to be together. In her police interviews, Aides displayed a disturbing mix of delusion and erratic behavior. She spoke of eternal love, quoting nonsensical mathematical equations and claiming divine guidance in her pursuit. Despite her alarming threats, Aides maintained that she never intended to harm the man and believed they were in a committed relationship. Her mental state was so deteriorated that court-ordered evaluations deemed her incompetent to stand trial. Her charges were eventually dropped, and she was sent for psychiatric treatment. The story of Jacqueline Aides is more than just a tale of obsession. It's a sobering reminder of the thin line between infatuation and delusion. It highlights the importance of mental health awareness, boundaries, and the dangers of unchecked obsession in the digital age. Her victim may never fully recover from the trauma she caused, but her story serves as a chilling example of how far obsession can go when reality and fantasy collide. Imagine exploring an abandoned building, the eerie silence amplifying every creak of the floorboards and rustle of the wind. For Herbex-Hill, an urban explorer, this was just another day, until it turned into a nightmare straight out of a horror movie. The location was the Robert Fulton Elementary School, a massive, derelict structure in Cleveland, Ohio. Known for its shadowy reputation, the building was a hotspot for criminal activity, squatters, and the homeless. Undeterred, Herbex-Hill entered, his camera capturing the decaying interior, peeling paint, graffiti-covered walls, and cryptic warnings like, "Don't explore alone." At first, his exploration seemed routine. He documented the ominous atmosphere, the hollow echoes of his footsteps the only sound. But then, deep within the labyrinth of darkened halls, he heard it, a faint shuffle, unmistakably human. His heartbeat quickened as he followed the sound, his flashlight piercing the darkness. The source of the noise was a makeshift room, concealed by a yellow curtain. Gathering his courage, he pulled the curtain aside. What came next was chilling. A blood-curdling shriek erupted from the darkness, freezing him in place. The primal scream was unlike anything he had ever heard, a sound that evoked both fear and the instinct to flee. Terrified, Herbex-Hill turned and ran, the scream echoing behind him. His camera caught glimpses of shadowy movement in the periphery as he bolted down the staircase, every step echoing like a death knell. By the time he reached the exit, his hands were trembling so violently that it was a struggle to unlock the door. Later, upon reviewing his footage, he discovered something even more unsettling. One of his shots revealed a man lurking in the shadows of the building, standing completely still, watching him from a distance. The realization sent shivers down his spine. He hadn't been alone, and whoever was there didn't want him to leave unscathed. This harrowing experience serves as a grim reminder of the dangers lurking in abandoned places. What begins as an adventure can quickly turn into a fight for survival, especially when you realize you're not the only one in the darkness. Herbex-Hill barely escaped with his life, and his chilling footage stands as proof of the unknown terrors that inhabit the forgotten corners of the world. Imagine filming a simple dance routine in your apartment, the music playing, the camera rolling, everything seems normal, right? For Hannah Viette, it was supposed to be just another TikTok video, an expression of creativity and fun. But what unfolded on that day was something she will never forget. It started like any other video. Hannah moved to the rhythm, glancing occasionally at her reflection in the glass doors of her balcony. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a figure on the other side of the glass, a man in a red shirt. He wasn't supposed to be there. Her heart froze as she realized he was trying to open the door. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice trembling with fear. The man mumbled something in Spanish, barely audible, before chillingly asking, "Am I your friend?" A wave of dread washed over Hannah as he continued trying to force the door open. Her instincts kicked in. Grabbing her phone, she ran to a neighbor's apartment while shouting at the man to leave. She frantically called 911, hoping help would arrive before things escalated further. The intruder, identified as Angel Moses Rodriguez Gomez, was a neighbor from the same apartment complex. This wasn't the first time he had crossed paths with Hannah in an unsettling way. She recalled previous instances where he had made her feel uncomfortable, following her movements around the building and acting suspiciously. One particularly eerie memory surfaced: a maintenance notebook she found near her couch one night. She had dismissed it at the time but later realized it was likely left behind by the same man who had been in her apartment before, lurking, observing her without her knowledge. When the police finally arrived, Rodriguez Gomez was arrested and charged with multiple crimes, including stalking, burglary, and property destruction. But despite the legal consequences, Hannah couldn't shake the feeling of violation. The walls of her apartment, once a place of comfort, had turned into the backdrop of a terrifying intrusion. Ultimately, Hannah decided to move, unable to continue living in a space that now held the echoes of fear and vulnerability. No one could blame her. Sometimes, starting over is the only way to reclaim peace of mind. This terrifying encounter wasn't just another TikTok video gone wrong. It was a real-life horror story about the fragility of safety and the unsettling truth that danger can lurk just behind the glass. Imagine stumbling upon something so horrifying it shakes your belief in humanity. That's what happened when a popular Chinese family influencer, known for showcasing a heartwarming life with his 8 children, was exposed for hiding an unspeakable truth behind his online facade. Dong Jimin rose to fame on Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok, through his account Father of 8 Children. His content seemed wholesome, a narrative of love and resilience as a father raising his family in rural China. Followers admired his apparent dedication and donated generously to support him. But behind the screen, a sinister secret was waiting to be uncovered. It all began when another creator visited Dong's home for a collaboration. What they found wasn't the picture-perfect image Dong presented online. Hidden behind his house, in a dilapidated shed, was a woman chained by her neck. She was malnourished, clothed in rags, and living in conditions unfit for any human. This woman, as it turned out, was Dong's wife, the mother of his 8 children. She had no voice, no autonomy, and no life beyond that shed. The footage quickly went viral, sparking outrage across Chinese social media. As pressure mounted, the authorities stepped in. Initially, the government downplayed the situation, claiming the woman suffered from schizophrenia and needed to be restrained for her children's safety. But the public wasn't buying it, and an independent investigation revealed a darker story. This woman was a victim of human trafficking. She had been abducted from her home province as a teenager and sold multiple times before being forcibly married to Dong. For years, she endured unimaginable abuse, bearing children against her will while being treated as little more than property. The chained woman became a symbol of the horrifying reality of human trafficking in rural China. Dong and several others involved in her abduction and enslavement were arrested, receiving prison sentences ranging from 8 to 13 years. Yet, for many, this felt like a slap on the wrist compared to the suffering she endured. The story of the chained woman is a grim reminder that evil can hide behind even the most innocent facades. While Dong crafted a narrative of a loving father for the internet, the truth was that his family's foundation was built on the suffering of one woman whose freedom was stolen from her. Even now, the memory of the chained woman lingers as a chilling testament to the hidden atrocities that sometimes lie just beneath the surface. It's a sobering reminder to question the stories we consume and to stand against the injustices that others face in silence.